século passado, a ideia do que seria o futuro começou como um exercício frívolo e até pândego. E foi se transformando aos poucos, passando do imaginário lúdico até chegar ao totalitarismo, à crueldade e à opressão. Neste século XXI, o futuro deixou definitivamente de ser visto de uma maneira romântica. Os olhares catastrofistas ainda estão por aí. Mas há também uma grande curiosidade em imaginar como o homem estará integrado à tecnologia. Raymond Kurzweil, engenheiro, futurólogo e visionário, trouxe para o campo mais do que concreto das possibilidades desse futuro mais palpável termos como transhumanismo e a famosa singularidade tecnológica, quando a humanidade dará um passo gigantesco no desenvolvimento tecnológico a ponto de mesclar a vida de carne e osso com a vida digital. No futuro de Kurzweil, homem e máquina estarão tão integrados que vamos misturar vida real e virtual. Nossa consciência não ficará mais limitada ao corpo físico. Poderemos transferir nossa mente para um computador e mandar fazer outro corpo. Enfim, estaremos muito perto da imortalidade. Kurzweil nos explica como e quando tudo isso deve acontecer nesse milênio especial em duas partes.
You fell in love with the computer when you were 12 and you built your first computer. Tell us about that. You wrote that for you it was like recreating the world.
Right. Well, I decided I'd be an inventor when I was 5 years old, and I didn't have electronics then. I had mechanical parts, and I had this feeling, I couldn't articulate it, that if you put things together in just the right way, you could recreate the world. You could solve problems. You could overcome human suffering. I didn't have any of that vocabulary as a 5-year-old, but I can remember the feeling. When I was 12, in 1960, I discovered the computer and felt you could simulate inside a computer just really anything. Music, intelligence, virtual reality, and I began to be fascinated with the computer. In the early 60s, I built my own computer, programmed it to compose music in the style of famous composers. My father got involved in that project. He was a musician, and that was really my first artificial intelligence project that won some international prizes. I got to meet President Johnson, and took that on a major network television program, I've Got a Secret. I played some music, and my secret was that I had built a computer that had composed the music.
Your father died early, right, of a heart attack, and your grandfather too. And you also had diabetes too, quite early, but you overcame that. So you have this, the odds are against you, but you beat them, right? And now your project is to extend your life. So tell us about that.
Well, I do have this idea from my family that you can find ideas that will overcome really any challenge. The ideas are out there, you can find them, and you should look for them, and when you find them, you should implement them. My interest in health started with the illness of my father. When I was 15, he had a heart attack. He died when I was 22. He was 58. And I felt that, I probably had inherited some of his bad genes for heart disease and diabetes. And when I was 35, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And the conventional medical approach actually made it worse. It's a long story why that is, but I decided, okay, I'll approach this as a problem, as an inventor and as a scientist. And I immersed myself in the scientific literature, and I came up with a unique approach involving nutrition and lifestyle and supplements, and overcame my diabetes. I've been free of diabetes ever since. And that really started me on this idea that you can confront health challenges just like you confront engineering problems. And I then confronted another health challenge, which was middle age, and the whole idea of aging, which is a biological process, but we can actually intervene already, not yet to completely stop it, but we can slow it down with today's knowledge. But the knowledge is accelerating. We'll get to a point not too far away where we will have the knowledge through biotechnology and nanotechnology to actually stop and reverse aging and disease processes, and they're really kind of mixed up with each other. And so that has been the mission that I've been on. I've written a series of books with Dr. Terry Grossman. First was called Fantastic Voyage. We have a new one called Transcend, 9 Steps to Living Well Forever. And the idea is to apply today's knowledge aggressively so that we can get to that future point where we'll have more knowledge. We call it a bridge to a bridge to a bridge. Bridge 1 is what we can do right now. And there's actually a lot more than you can do right now to slow down aging and disease processes.
We are the same age, but you are a few months older. But you look much younger than I do. How do you do that?
Well, I'm pretty aggressive. I spend a lot of time on slowing down the aging process. I take about 150 pills a day, and there's a different story on each one. It might sound like an aggressive program, but it's actually very conservative because I don't do anything that's at all controversial. Everything that I do there's a lot of scientific evidence that we talk about in our books. For example, human growth hormone is controversial, and I do not do that, and we don't recommend it because, well, it seems to slow down some aging processes. It also increases the risk of cancer. So I have a conservative program. I'll give you one example that's not well known. The cell membrane, the coating of every one of the 10 trillion cells in your body when you're young is made up of a substance called phosphatidylcholine. A child, 90% of the cell membrane is made up of phosphatidylcholine. That depletes as you get older. In an elderly person, someone who's, say, 80, it's typically down to 10%. And the cell membrane gets filled in with inert, hard substances like hard fats and cholesterol. They're brittle. That's why the skin in an elderly person loses its elasticity. The organs don't work as well. That's an aging process. Aging is not one thing. It's a dozen different processes. This is one that you can easily actually reverse by supplementing with that particular substance. There's another aging process, atherosclerosis, which is the filling up of the arteries with plaque. That causes heart attacks, it causes strokes, but it also causes lots of other aging problems, infirmity in the limbs, claudication, impotence. All the arteries in the body get filled up with plaque at different rates depending on your genetic profile. That's one that we really understand quite well, and you can slow down and even stop. Dr. Dean Ornish has shown that you can actually reverse that. And that's not a matter of simply taking one pill. It's a complex, multifactorial process. You have to find out, is your cholesterol too high? Is your HDL, the good cholesterol, too low? Is your C-reactive protein, which is a measure of inflammation in the body, too high? Is your homocysteine too high, indicating a problem with methylation processes? We describe in our book how to diagnose the different aspects of this, and then you would do different things depending on what your issues are. Our program is not a one-size-fits-all. It's not a matter of just lower your carbs or lower your fat or eat a grapefruit a day. It's a matter of actually assessing where you are. If you're a healthy 22-year-old without any major issues, then you should just follow a healthy lifestyle, take some basic vitamins and minerals. If you're 50, 60, 70-year-old with diabetes and heart disease, and then you need to do more. But the common wisdom is, it's 80% genetics and 20% lifestyle. That's only true if you follow the usual watered-down public health recommendations. If you're very aggressive, it can really be 90% your own actions and 10% genetics. Most of these genetic dispositions, like heart disease, diabetes, cancer, stroke, you can largely overcome. And it's not a sort of a single silver bullet today. It requires a sort of multifaceted program of nutrition, exercise, stress management, supplements. It's not good enough just to be natural, because the natural program is to age and die. Our genes evolved thousands of years ago when conditions were very different. When our genes evolved, it was not in the interest of the human species for people to live that long, because there was very little food. And if everybody lived to 70 or 80, that wouldn't work. So the human life expectancy was 23. That was long enough for you to raise your kids. Your kids were 12 and ready to go out on their own, and then you died. Everything we've done since has been not natural. We've gone beyond the natural order. That's, in fact, what it means to be human, is to go beyond our limitations.
You predict that in 2045, the single